Hey everybody, this is Josh Winkler with CrippleConcepts here. Starting 2016 with a new video series showcasing some of our products that we make here at CrippleConcepts, along with some of the machinery we use to make the products. We're really proud to do as much as we can with people with disabilities. I personally am able to operate all the machinery in the shop myself. I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic. You can learn a little bit more about me over here at my personal video series that I put together a couple years ago. Haven't updated that in a while, but there's a little more info on me. But yeah, I have very limited use of my arms, and yeah, as you can see, I use a power wheelchair. And I've adapted around most of my tools in my shop, so I'm able to operate them. I'm not going to say as efficiently as somebody else might be able to, but I'm able to operate them. A couple of items that we're currently stocking is we have a USB charger that goes into your power wheelchair. Allows you to charge cell phones or tablets or any USB device off of that. We just finished a Kickstarter campaign on that and just got everybody's shipped out, and so hopefully everybody has those now and is getting to enjoy them in the new year. Another little thing we got, some key adapters, and we'll go through these in detail in future videos showing off how we kind of use everything, the advantages and disadvantages. Different things work for different people, and so a couple things that work for me, I now putting out for more people to buy. You can see I got this nice shiny knob here on my chair, built aluminum joystick knobs. Currently offering those just in plain silver in one bullet shape, but in the future we hope to add more to those. And we're going to be putting out these videos roughly once a week is the goal. Hopefully you'll get some enjoyment out of it, learn a bit, and maybe purchase a product or two. If not, hopefully just get inspired to maybe, if you're a person with a disability, to get out there and start working yourself. I never really thought I'd be able to go back to using my hands to work. I wanted to be a mechanic before I got hurt, and when I was 17 I broke my neck and didn't think that was going to pan out, so I went to school, became a mechanical engineer. Did that for 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, as a professional engineer, and then I started my own shop here, and I enjoy it. I'm not going to say I make so much money, but I enjoy what I do, and I like working with my hands. I like building things. I like inventing and coming up with new devices that make my life easier, make other people's lives easier, and we hope to help out the whole community out there. So stay tuned, keep watching, and for now I'm just going to give you a real quick tour of the shop. We'll go into details about all the machinery and future videos. So thanks for watching. Alright, starting out the video here, we'll show you the Pexto sheet metal shear. This is a newer machine picked up and are currently converting over to operate it off a pneumatic ram. I'll showcase some of the setup on the pneumatic ram later on. We'll be removing the stomp part. Obviously I can't stomp on a stomp shear, so we're going to convert it over to pneumatics and use that to do straight cuts. There's also a Beverly shear mounted to the bed of that we use for making small cuts. That's what I use for now on sheet metal work. Over the side of that we got a hydraulic tubing bender. This is a JD squared, I believe it's the Model 4, Model 3, Model 4. It's the hydraulic setup. It's opposite of the more common JD squared models, the JD2 and the JD2-3. It actually kind of operates exactly the opposite on which die moves and which one stays still. I can do everything from 1/2 inch to 2-inch tubing on that with the dies I have, along with 1-inch square. I've also done some aluminum metric with some shims. Moving along here, we have some of the more commonly used tools right now. This is a CNC mill. It's a Sieg model KX3. I needed something that would fit on a desktop that I could get underneath. So I had to find a small machine that I could fit underneath the table and actually get up and operate. So this is what I got about 5, 6 years ago. First thing I did is converted it over to a electric tool change setup. It's still pretty manual, but I got an electric impact gun to run the collets. I'll show the details of that later on.
And next to that, I have a little mini lathe that's been converted over to CNC. I picked that up at an auction. It had already been converted. Had to actually put some electronics together to actually operate it, but that's what I make the billet aluminum knobs on. It's actually a company called Sakai out of Japan. They're a camera company, and so it's a pretty precise mini lathe, a lot better quality than the Harbor Freights and Northern Tools and those newer Chinese import ones. It's a pretty precise lathe, works pretty well. A little slow, but it fits on a bench top. I can get underneath, I can reach in there and work on things. Moving along, we got the toolboxes with all the mill and lathe tools. Got some drawers with lots of drill bits in various sizes. Got our tap and dies over there, furnace. Got a wall-mounted, I believe it was a Bissell actually, shot vac system. You're working on a canister for getting rid of some of the debris as I vacuum with that. It works pretty well, but it's getting a little bit worn out. I've had it for about 5 years and sucked up a lot of metal chips with it. Next to that, we have the injection molding machine. This was a tech school type model, community college tech school style, manual, hydraulic ram. It's fairly stout machine, probably from the 40s or 50s. Working on converting that over to automate it more. We'll be making the housings for the USB chargers on that. Currently 3D printing those. Ran into some problems getting it up and running, but we'll show that project pretty soon, and the finalization of it, making it run. It should be a nice machine. Not high volume, but decent quality. I've already got the mold made for the USB housings. Just got to get the RAM working on the hydraulics on that. So hopefully we'll have that run in the next month at the latest. Hopefully the next few weeks if we're lucky. Next to that, you can see the stoplight behind there. That's just a little decoration my parents got me years ago. I've got a hard-hinge tool room lathe. It's got a 6-position turret on it. Call it closer. It makes it easy to feed stuff in. We do actually the bottoms of the billet aluminum knobs on that. Drill the hole, do the couple steps in it. Also use that for making other tooling, and pretty nice lathe. It's kind of a nice. Prior to going CNC, it's a way to do some small run production stuff. It's a little bit of a pain to set up for one part, but really nice if you're looking to do a handful of parts. One problem is can't really get underneath of it. It's a little bit more of a pain to use for me. You can see I use the step for extra storage, but it's got some pretty long levers to run the tooling, so I am able to run it. It's just a little bit more cumbersome than the stuff I can get underneath. Moving along, we got a large, it's a Rutland vertical bandsaw. I traded a old punch press I'd picked up that I never found a use for to a guy. I traded him for this nice vertical bandsaw. Really nice saw, cuts really well. It's probably bigger than anything I actually really need, but the deal was right, and it is an import. It's a Taiwanese, I believe, saw. Variable speed. Got a blade welder on it. Haven't used that. It came with several blades, but nice stout machine. It's worked pretty well so far. The vertical bandsaw, the hard hinge, and the air compressor that's actually behind the hard hinge lathe are all 3-phase. So I have a 3-phase rotary phase converter back behind the lathe that converts 220 single phase, creates a third leg for the 3-phase. I'm not an electrical expert, but through the magic of spinning a motor up, you create a third phase, and works pretty well. I've never run all three at the same time, but I can run the compressor in the saw or the compressor in the lathe without any issue at all. I got big rack, big pegboard there with some of my pneumatic tools, grinders, drills, saws. I use the little Skill lithium ion little sawzall that actually takes jigsaw blades, a little screw gun. I have some drill bits that are quick change ones from Harbor Freight. They go in there. A couple Makita impact guns. Those are real nice, fairly lightweight. I got a little parts cleaner behind here that I use to clean off the oil on the knobs. We're going to start anodizing those soon, and you have to be real clean to anodize. Got the kind of the dirty grinding bench next behind there. Got a little tumbler to clean up the knobs, deburr the knobs, a little pneumatic motor with a buffing wheel. That actually came on the bench when I bought this bench at an auction. Wasn't really sure that I'd ever use it, and it is really, really nice. I'll do another video on that at some point. Real nice to be able to control the speed. You can actually put, it's got a Jacobs chuck on there, so you can put about anything you wanted. I've got a nice big jet bench grinder, and then a little Harbor Freight bench grinder that I used to use a lot in my apartment. I still use it quite a bit, actually. It's handy for little small projects. Got a nice big vise on this bench. It also came on this bench. It's actually a Lista bench. Picked it up at an auction for $100 a few years back. It was great when the economy was tanking. I picked up some good tools for decent price, and this was one of them. To get the bench with that pneumatic motor and a nice vise was quite the deal. I've got a Dayton disc grinder belt, or disc sander belt sander combo here. It's a pretty nice machine. I bought it at an auction, sight unseen, and the motor was bad. So we replaced the motor, and it runs okay. I put the Scotch-Brite belt back on it the other day, though, that it came with, and it's bogging down the motor a whole lot and actually kicking the reset. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Something's binding up. I also didn't come with a rest for the belt, and that's really a pain, really dangerous, because there's nothing to rest your material on. That's just a piece of sheet metal down there at the bottom. So mainly use that for the disc right now. It's really nice to just deburr things and wood, metal, whatever. I can do anything on there. Moving along down this side of the shop, we have a nice chop saw. Picked that up from Trick Tools several years ago. Works really well. Nice clean cuts. Real loud, and the blades are expensive, so I end up using my bandsaw a lot more. I got a little horizontal one over here. I'll show you in a minute. If you look though at the black handle, that's a piece of tube. First tube I ever bent on the tube bender was to replace the plastic handle with something I could actually run on that saw, and put a little switch on it, and got rid of the safeties that you had to push in the button before you pull the trigger, and got rid of all that so I could operate it. Way more dangerous now, but hey, I can operate it, and that's what I wanted. So don't use that as much as I used to, but still nice to have. I got some aluminum here. Got a few little containers with zip ties, glues, screws, bolts, odds and ends. Got a tapping jig that I built here that takes quick change taps. I'll do a whole video on that because it makes life way nicer. Just got a Skill drill press here. Nothing special. A little cheap Harbor Freight vise there on the bench. Again, nothing real special. The Skill, the little Skill drill press. Glad I have it. I actually use it way more than I ever thought I would once I got the mill. But I definitely prefer the mill. It's just way more precise and easier for me to really clamp things down in the vise on the mill. I've got a little A-frame press here. I actually bought that at an auction, never used it, but someday I will. It's one of those things that when you need it, you really need it. I've got a little punch below there that I bought that I haven't got set up on a bench yet. I got to get some more dies for it anyway. It's only got one right now. I'm going to convert that over to a pneumatic probably, so I can operate it. And then we got a chair that I mock things up on. Bought it used along the way, and I use that to try different things on. And then I got a little horizontal bandsaw here. This will be my next upgrade in the shop, though. This one is definitely my most limiting piece of machinery. It's basically the same thing that you can buy from Grizzly, you can buy it from Jet, you can buy it from Harbor Freight, you can buy it from Northern Tool. There's so many copies of this particular saw out there, it's unreal. You can use it horizontal or vertical. Kicks the blades a lot, just a little bit too light duty, but to step up to the next bigger ones is a big step. So I just let it take its time, and just kind of deal with it for now. It's an oldie but a useful one. It's from 1982, so clearly the design isn't that bad. People are still using the same basic design today, so it's not terrible. It's just a little bit light duty. Beyond that, the back into the tube bender. Beyond that, we got a material rack, just some 2x6s, sheet of plywood behind them, leaned up there to sort out some materials. I got a file cabinet with a lot of paints and sandpaper and all that kind of stuff. Little paint booth with some computer fans that actually vent out a dryer duct out the side of the shop. That's kind of nice. I wish I would have built it a little bit bigger, but it's pretty useful. We use furnace filters to collect some of the paint, and it's worked pretty well. Like I say, just wish it was a little bit bigger. I may end up building a bigger one at some point here. Got the dog bed. My service dog's in the house right now, but she's normally out here hanging out in her bed. Before we show you what's on the red bench there, in the background, I'll show you what was in the middle of the shop that we kind of drove around. Got a 48-inch sheet metal shear. I started to get into doing a little bit of sheet metal work, mainly on just some stuff around here, building little enclosures for electrical stuff, things I needed in the shop. And so I picked up this and the shear, and then I got a couple other sheet metal tools stuffed under on the bench. I'm going to build a custom bench to hold all that at some point here, but it just hasn't made it to the priority list yet. It's, like I say, mainly used for in-house use. We're not really selling anything off that, so it becomes low priority. The other big CNC machine we have is an AXYZ router. This is a 39-inch by 39-inch, and I built a vacuum table for it recently. Again, I actually haven't been making any money with this one. It was a deal I couldn't pass up on Craigslist. About a 15-year-old model. I think it was built in 2000 or 2001. And nice three-phase spindle on it, though. Spins at 21,000 RPM. A nice stout machine, really well built. So we built a nice solid bench for it out of 3x3, a 1/4-inch steel. Nice heavy-duty unit, and it's gonna be nice to use for bigger and thinner projects, flat panels and things like that. Finally got it up and running, though, after a lot of work replacing electronics. When we do a whole video on that, I'll explain the details, but it's amazing how low the price of electronics has come in the last 15 years. You don't have to deal with companies price gouging you anymore. There's so many options available. Moving along the rest of by the door of the garage, we got it's actually my welding table there. We're getting ready to put some casters on it. But sitting on the welding table right now is a vacuum former. Picked it up to do some vacuum molding. Something I just thought was cool, and I paid too much. I'll be honest, paid too much for it. It's a big 220 unit, 18 by 24 panels. It'll vacuum form. Those boxes are actually some cardboard backers. They were using it to do some display stuff. So I got a roll of plastic that they were pulling through and sucking down on these cardboard backers to basically make display items out of some appear to be some kind of like hippie peace signs for necklaces or something. So Anyway, I'm going to do something a little bit different with that, but just recently got it up and checked it all out and make sure it's all running. It's going to actually go down underneath the router because it's not going to be used that often, but got some projects in mind for it. Then we move over here. We got the welders. Got a Lincoln TIG and an older Hobart MIG. The Hobart MIG is way bigger than what I'll ever need. Same with the TIG. I'm actually looking at trading down the TIG to the next model down with a buddy of mine, and I'm gonna just downgrade a little bit. I don't really need that one. He needs something with a better duty cycle. He's actually a professional welder, and the duty cycle is an issue on the next model down. And for the projects we're doing, we don't have that issue, so probably going to be downgrading, and we're rebuilding some kind of cart that holds both welders in a future video. So look forward to that. Beside that, we got a little, the bench inside the door. It's kind of the catch-all. It's shipping and receiving. We got our peanuts down there. Got some welding masks and whatnot up there. It's the shelf right inside the door, so everything ends up there. And then over here on the other side of the shop, we got a couple desks with a little more of our clean setup. More shipping and receiving stuff here. I've got the laptop and monitor stuff for the Solidoodle 3D printer. And then a rack on the back that I built for holding multiple rolls of filament. That way it makes it easier to switch between different colors of filament. Use that right now to make the housings for the USB chargers. Do a lot of prototyping stuff. Do little odds and ends projects. I have a little propane torch, and I needed a knob that I could run. It had a little brass round knob on it I couldn't run, so I printed a little wing nut type thing on the 3D printer. Just drew it up, printed it in about an hour, and pushed it on, and now I can run my propane torch. So I use that for various things. It's a nice little machine for the money. This is the Solidoodle 3. We had to build the enclosure around it because any kind of air gust will make your part not stick to the platform. I only print in ABS. PLA, I've not heard the greatest things. When you get it wet, it can deteriorate, which is a problem for what I'm building. So yeah, I haven't really used it for that. But the new model, the Solidoodle 4, has a nice enclosure on it. I'd really recommend that for anybody that's getting into 3D printing. I've got all of our wire and heat shrink, and got an ultrasonic welder for welding plastic over there. Got our soldering. Got our test equipment. So that's where all the USB chargers go together, and any kind of electronics projects happen. Got our accessible bathroom there. Got to have that. Takes up a bit more space, but I want anybody that comes in here to be able to use the restroom, obviously. The coolers here, those aren't for cooking meth. That's actually going to be our anodizing setup. Did a little bit previously, and getting that all back up and running here hopefully by the end of January. And we'll be offering anodized knobs in a couple different colors, a couple different styles. And then as that grows, we'll farm out the anodizing, because it's not that expensive to get anodizing done if you're getting large quantities. But most anodizing shops have a pretty steep minimum dollar order. So if you're only wanting 10 or 20 of something done, it costs the same as getting 200 or 300 of them done. So hold off just a little bit on sending those out. So we're gonna do that in-house for now. Got the hardware sorter. Everybody's got to have something for their nuts, bolts, fasteners. So I got that set up there, and that's pretty much the shop. So like I say, in the coming weeks we'll be doing some videos of all this equipment and kind of explaining what we've done to make it a little more functional, a little more accessible, and kind of what we use it all for. Thanks for watching, and I hope you continue to check out our videos, and make sure to check out our website at CrippleConcepts.com. Thanks a lot.